Hello, Ali.
Hello.
You alright, mate?
Yes, mate. Are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Right, I'm excited to talk about today's episode.
I'm excited.
Have we got any catching up to do beforehand?
A little bit, I suppose. Mark and I went to Slam Dunk yesterday at Hatfield House. It was good. Like, they ironed out a lot of issues that they had the previous year, so that was really good. I'd say I've enjoyed previous year's lineups better.
Okay.
But there was still some really good acts, which was really cool. Aside from my back just gave out on me, like, it felt like crippled.
That's so weird. Is it because you're standing up a lot?
Well, no, because normally I'm dancing and that's okay. But for some reason, just all of a sudden, it just was agony. And I had to spend a lot of the time sitting down. And blessed, there was a couple sort of stood next to us lot in the crowd. And whilst I sat down, Mark and the fella were like standing shoulder to shoulder so people wouldn't keep like barging past and like trampling on me. And she gave me paracetamol and was asking if I was okay and everything like that. To be fair, I probably should have moved away. And sat.
Like, no, I'm going to stay here.
But yeah, so that kind of ruined it a little bit for me. But you had a great time, didn't you? Like I said, the lineup wasn't as amazing. Taylor Acorn was probably the highlight for us. She blew up in lockdown. She did a cover of Mayday Parade's Jamie All Over and on TikTok, and she just blew up. And now she's playing at Slam Dunk, which is amazing, and she is really good. I think you might like her. Do you think Helen would like Taylor Acorn? Yeah.
I'm going to be completely goober about this and say, where was my invite?
Oh my God, would you want to come?
No, but I just...
Oh.
I just wanted to be goober about it because he's always saying...
Would you not come?
I would come, but... Yeah.
Just for a social?
Yeah, you know, I might find a rock and roll husband.
You might.
I probably won't, but... Yeah, you know.
I was really looking forward to the All American Rejects, but they were just being a bit weird.
Oh. That's... Really?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you mean? Why were they being weird?
They're just doing some weird mouth noises in between songs. We went and found coffee and sat down, but we could still hear them, which was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think they were under the influence of something?
No.
Maybe they were possessed.
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe prolonged use of substance. No, because that's not what we're saying at all.
Allegedly.
No, not even
Surmising?
allegedly. No.
No.
Absolutely not. I was like, so yeah, I was really looking forward to them, and then it just, just not great live.
Okay, I've found that with a few bands though, where I've really looked forward to seeing them, and then I'm like, oh. That, to be fair, that's rarely happened. It's only happened with like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, some you're just like...
Some of them I can like just be like, do you know what, I don't care, and just throw myself into it. But I think I was just a bit sort of, with my back and everything, I was just like, oh, this is just a bit disappointing.
I like it when you see someone, a live music someone, and you weren't necessarily going to that place to see them. So whether they be on at a festival, whether, there might be a supporting act, and they completely surprise you, like Sophie Ellis-Bextor.
Oh my gosh, she was so good.
She was incredible. And I liked her.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have ever thought, oh, I'll go and watch Sophie Ellis-Bextor. But I would now.
Well, it's only because, she was supporting Gwen when we went.
Gwenny.
Fangirl. It's like one year we went, and one of the people we were with, he knew a guy that was sessioning for an artist that was playing at Slam Dunk, and I'd never heard of her before. Her name's Lizzie Farrell, and it was the year Julia came with us. Actually, that was a great year.
Really,
had a lot of fun that year, and so we watched her, and I was like obsessed. Obsessed. She's got this song called Barbados, and it's just fucking epic.
Amazing.
I loved it. So discovered her, which was really cool. I've not really listened to Taylor Acorn as much as Mark, but yeah, I really enjoyed her, so I probably will listen to her a lot more now as well. And it's really nice because it's a one-day thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm not good at camping.
No, it has to be glamping.
With a shower and a flushing toilet.
And it's just, the thing is with festivals, they're so expensive now.
Honestly.
It's like going on holiday prices.
Yeah. pretty much. So I think like it's like what's 10 quid for like chips,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, the prices are extortionate, but you know, it's one day. At least it's not across a weekend or anything like that. Like I would like to go to Download, but one, the lineup really has to be worth it for me, and two, I wouldn't be able to camp.
Yeah.
No, not for shit. And you know, it's known as Drownload because it's always just fucking quicksand with the amount of rain.
Oh, really?
You just get stuck in the mud. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've been to Glastonbury quite a few times. I've been when it's been really hot, and I've been when it's been torrential rain and flooding and mud. And yeah, it's well, I think if you're especially like Glastonbury, because you are so far away from everything.
Yeah.
Once you're in it, you're in it. So you've got to make the best of it, I think.
Kind of like that with Slam Dunk. Like you are close to things, but it takes a fucking while to get out of there at Hatfield House and everything. You can't just be like, oh, I'm just gonna nip somewhere. No.
What's your favourite festival you've been to, do you think?
Slam Dunk.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Slam Dunk. And we've always been really quite lucky with the weather. I think there's only been one time that I've been where there's been like a little bit of rain, but it was drizzle. And the rest of the time it's usually really warm and the sun's out. It gets a bit chilly at night. Obviously you're in an open field and stuff, but usually by that point, like, you can deal with it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, so today, I'm actually really excited about this case because I love the subject matter. I've been obsessed with these people for a long time, and I was kind of overthinking doing the episode. So what I've done is I've summarised it because you could do a podcast about this, only about this, because there's so much out there. But I've just kind of kept it quite concise. And then obviously if people want to find out more, very easy to find out more. So today I'm going to be talking to you and Goobs and our one possible listener about Bonnie and Clyde.
Yay!
So and actually this is quite timely because so this month, so we're recording this in May, probably won't go out till June, but this month they would have died 90 years ago.
Bloody hell.
So yeah, it's a bit of an slightly older timey tale. And, you know, a lot of people have heard about Bonnie and Clyde, but maybe don't know so much about them, how they met, and what kind of happened. So who were Bonnie and Clyde? Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow robbed petrol stations, restaurants and small town banks, mostly in Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico and Missouri in the United States. And their crime spree spanned 21 months. So this all happened in the 30s.
Yes.
And this is very, very linked to Cars of the Macabre.
Absolutely.
Which, you know, I will kind of go through as we're talking about it. But and then there's a little kicker at the end, which will be exciting. So, but beginning with Bonnie Elizabeth Parker, who was born in a place called Rowena, Texas in 1910. She had an older brother named Hubert, but he was known as Buster, and a younger sister called Billy. Billy and Buster. I love that. And her father...
they do sound like pet dog names.
Yeah. Or just like fun people.
Oh, fun people.
You know, Billy and Buster, let's have them around for a drink. Her father, Charles Robert Parker, sadly passed away when Bonnie was just 4 years old. And this led her mother, Emma, to move the family to live with Bonnie's grandparents to a poor suburb of West Dallas known as Cement City. Bonnie was an honour student at school. She enjoyed reading romance novels and continued to write poetry into adulthood. So she used to love to write poetry.
Oh, wow.
And
that sounds like a bit of a waste really now.
I actually, it would be interesting to know your thoughts on this as a general story, but yeah, I've always kind of thought of them in quite a romanticised way, really, considering they're criminals. So yeah, she including poems, the story of Suicide Sal and The Trail's End, which is also known as the story of Bonnie and Clyde, which I'm going to read at the end of the episode for you. So I thought you might like that.
Yeah. So what she wrote, can we get them anywhere?
I don't know if they're sort of in a book. I found them online, so all this research is online research from various websites, including the official FBI website as well. So you can find so much about them.
Yeah.
And as with a lot of the stories, the dates and places sometimes change a little bit. So another reason why I summarised it, because to find absolutely accurate information is quite hard. And because there's been a lot of films about this, a lot of books written about it, podcasts, all the things, it is very hard to separate fact from fiction with them as well. So Bonnie also kept a diary, albeit briefly, when she was 18, writing about her loneliness, her impatience with life in Dallas, and her love of photography. So she was a really creative girl.
She was artsy fartsy.
Yeah, and it would be really interesting to look at the diary entries and to read some more of her poetry. I know that the poetry is online. I should have actually looked for the diary entries. I didn't see any, but I didn't look for them, so they probably are out there. Bonnie was only 4'10".
Was she?
Yeah, and she weighed 85 pounds. So she wasn't a stereotypical criminal. She was so little and so slight, and she was thought to be exceptionally pretty, and she had dreams of becoming an actress. So I just wanted to paint a picture of Bonnie, because I have been obsessed with Bonnie and Clyde for a long time, and I just okay, yes, what they did was wrong, but I find them fascinating.
I never knew any of that about her. 4'10".
Yeah.
Oh, bless her.
And and also I'll go into this, but the clothes they wore as well.
Oh, yeah.
Were just so amazing. I actually went to a Halloween fancy dress party with my then partner dressed as Bonnie and Clyde.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
It was
Wait,
one of my favourites.
which partner?
Tom.
Oh.
He was Clyde, I was Bonnie, obviously. Should have done it the other way around. So a bit about Clyde. Clyde Champion Barrow was born...
Champion.
I know, right?
What?
That's literally the first time I've ever heard that as a middle name or name for anyone.
Well, yeah, and that probably did a lot for his ego.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe.
Again, I really liked Clyde as well. Yeah. So he was born in a place called Tellico, Texas, on March the 24th in 1909. He was one of 7 children, and he was born into a very close-knit but poor farming family. The family farm sadly failed due to drought, and they relocated to Dallas, Texas. And early on, Clyde actually really wanted to become a musician. He was learning to play guitar and saxophone, and I like the fact that he had that ambition, and Bonnie had sort of like a starry ambition as well.
Yeah, it's really sad.
It is, and the thing is, because of I can't blame it on Clyde's upbringing, but he was born into a poor family, and he ended up turning to a life of crime instead.
Yes.
So, possibly he didn't have as many opportunities. And at that time in America, it was when there was a depression on. So it was hard for everybody. So he started out as a petty thief, then moved on to stealing cars, which escalated to armed robbery. And in late 1929, at just 20 years old, Clyde had become a fugitive, wanted by the authorities for robbery.
Bloody Nora.
So I love the fact they both started with these kind of really beautiful ambitions and very creative people, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
And then they ended up being criminals.
Do you know what? It's such a sad fact of life that quite often that happens. People want things for themselves that will better themselves, but external circumstances often don't give them that opportunity, and they have to do what they can to survive.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's I don't know. Like I said, I love this story, and I find it very, very sad. And when I watch the films, have you seen any of the films?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh my God, I bawl my eyes out. No. Absolutely bawl my eyes out. Not quite as bad as Elvis. I pretty much had a mentee bee when I watched Elvis, because I love him and I find the whole thing very sad. But yeah, I did cry a lot. So Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow met in early January of 1930 at a mutual friend's house in West Dallas. Clyde was 21 years old at the time and Bonnie was 19, and the pair quickly fell in love. But their romance was interrupted when Clyde was arrested and convicted of car theft. So, I mean... That'll do it. That'll do it. Clive eventually convinced a lovesick Bonnie to smuggle a gun into the prison so Clyde could escape. So, you know...
Romance isn't what it used to be, is it?
No. No.
I love you, but I wouldn't do that for you. No offence.
Oh. Oh, well.
I'd write you a poem.
Yes, she would write you a poem.
I'd write you a poem.
I'll draw you a picture.
He's like, oh yeah, cheers. That's really
I love how we're all looking at him like as if he would be the one in prison. It would be
us.
us.
He wouldn't fucking come and see me, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, see you later, bitches. You made this bed, you fucking lie in it.
Yep.
So, on March the 11th of 1930, Clyde used the weapon that Bonnie smuggled in for him to escape with his cellmates, but they were captured a week later, and Clyde was sentenced to 14 years of hard labour. So, yeah, there was a lot interrupting their relationship early on.
Yeah, right at the start.
Right at the start. And while Clyde was incarcerated, he and Bonnie wrote to each other a lot, and they stayed together whilst being kind of split apart by jail. And then we fast forward to February of 1932 when Clyde's mum managed to convince the judge in his case to grant him parole.
How the fuck?
So Clyde was released from prison.
Oh my God.
I know, right? So Bonnie and Clyde were reunited, and for a minute, Clyde did actually try to go straight. He stayed out of trouble. He got a job in a glass factory, but police harassment allegedly caused him to lose his job. So, I couldn't find too much more about that, so I don't know if it was a case of, if anything went wrong, they kind of went to question him about it, and, yeah. But anyway, it made him lose his job. So, Clyde basically gave up going straight and formed a gang. So he did try for a little bit.
Try again.
I know. He doesn't.
No,
Spoiler.
that's not what happened.
No. And in a side note, interestingly, the FBI, which were then called the Bureau of Investigation, became involved in the case of Bonnie and Clyde in December of 1932. And this was because of a stolen Ford from Husker, Oklahoma, that was later found abandoned near Jackson in Michigan. And then at Husker, law enforcement learned that another Ford had been abandoned after it had been stolen in Illinois. So Bonnie and Clyde really did like their Fords.
Yeah.
And that's what turned the FBI onto them. So I thought that was quite an interesting little tidbit of information.
So why did the FBI... Because they knew it was them that stolen them? Or because it was Fords?
No, the car theft just just kind of got the attention of the FBI.
I don't know why I got confused then.
That's okay.
It happened.
Well, also it's me explaining it, so,
Other people probably would have understood.
Well, who knows?
I didn't.
You do now. Do you okay then?
I do, yeah.
Okay, good. So, Bonnie eventually joined the gang, but she was actually captured during a failed robbery attempt, and she was imprisoned for 2 months. And while she awaited trial, she actually wrote poetry. I love that. And in June of 1932, the court actually failed to convict Bonnie, and she was released from custody, and then she immediately rejoined Clyde and the gang. So initially, they travelled with a man named Raymond Hamilton, who was known as a young gunman. But he actually left the gang several months later and was replaced by a man called William Daniel Jones.
Do we know why he left?
No. There's a possibility that he might have got in trouble with the law, but again, he does end up in prison.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was the reason why he left. Not really sure.
Okay.
Couldn't find any information why he left. And then when Ivan M. Buck Barrow, Clyde's brother, was released from the Texas State Prison on the 23rd of March in 1933, he joined the gang, and he brought along his wife, Blanche, as well. So the gang were now 5 people strong. Oh. With Blanche, which I just love it. I'm sorry, I know I'm not condoning this, but I just find it fascinating. I love the fact there were 2 girls in this gang.
It's smaller than I thought, because when you said they joined a gang, I thought there was already going to be like quite a few of them, but
no,
we're only up to 5 now.
Very, very small gang. I guess they, and with it being Clyde's brother, and they sort of kept it very close-knit, and, you know, I guess you don't know who you can trust. So in April of 1933, after the gang had made a getaway from an apartment in Missouri, a roll of undeveloped film was discovered and processed, and the photos showed Bonnie and Clyde posing with a car. They posed as a couple as well as sort of on their own with guns, and the images were published immediately by the Joplin Globe.
Yeah, I've seen those photos.
Very, very famous photos. I will put them on our Instagram, and they are very cool. I like them. There's some coloured versions, there's black and whites.
She looks taller than 4'10" there.
He was only 5'5".
Oh, really?
They were little. Yeah.
To be fair, people were a lot shorter.
Yeah, yeah. So they weren't a super tall couple.
No.
But the photos are fantastic, and you know the press really did jump on this story, and people were copying the things they were wearing. It was really
captured the nation.
It really did capture the nation, and you know, because the country was in a deep depression, and there were these two people, and this is how the public saw it. There were these two people that were like, do you know what? Fuck everybody. We're going to join up, have a gang, and do what we want. Drive around.
It's completely romanticised.
Yeah. But it just shows you that the same things were happening in the media then that happen now.
Oh, yeah.
So it's quite fascinating.
The media hasn't changed that much.
No, it really hasn't.
I don't think it has changed.
No, it's just...
Everything's... they want to
sensationalise?
Yes, thank you. Like, just everything, because that's what draws the readers in and that's what keeps them in business. So, yeah.
Exactly.
People are fascinated and they're curious and everything like that, so they feed on that.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, things like the fact that they became this kind of infamous it couple and people were copying what
role models
Bonnie was wearing.
Almost, yeah.
And, you know, not so much Clyde, because he, you know, I think she kind of expressed herself a little bit more with dress, she was able to, and so many people copied her.
Yeah.
Which, you know, so they had a massive impact, which I don't think, you know, people really realise.
We wouldn't be that way these days, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. And yeah, you say that though. I mean, people do become obsessed with serial killers. They buy murderabilia.
Yeah.
You get people writing to murderers in prison.
That's very true. But like, as in, I don't know, that just seems a bit different.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't know, you focus on like, that people are focused on the story and like the dress and things like that. It's not like, oh my God, tell me what it was like to kill someone, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a bit more sinister these days, perhaps.
Yeah, and I think people like the sinister part of it.
Yeah.
Whereas that, you know, Bonnie and Clyde were romanticised.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like them against the world kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So in June, Bonnie was badly injured in a car accident and her leg was burnt by battery acid.
Ooh.
And this actually really affected her mobility and she struggled to walk, and a lot of times she had to be carried around. During a shootout with police in Iowa on the 29th of July that same year, Buck Barrow was fatally wounded and Blanche was captured. Daniel Jones was later captured in November in Houston, Texas, but Bonnie and Clyde continued on together.
Do you know, whenever you say Blanche, all I can think of is A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams. Stella!
I haven't read it.
What?
Yeah.
Have you seen the film?
Probably.
Marlon Brando?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't read
I've
the book.
always relied on the kindness of strangers.
Oh, I'm going to have to watch that again.
Yeah.
I really
read
can't remember
it.
what happened. Yeah.
So good.
I will read it.
So good.
I'll buy the book.
Yes.
I'll buy the book. So on the 22nd of November, the Dallas, Texas sheriff... Sorry, I wrote that really weirdly. The Dallas, Texas sheriff and his deputies...
I am a robot.
If I was a robot, I'd talk better. So maybe we can replace me with an AI.
No, don't do that. I like you.
No, thanks.
Welcome.
So the Dallas, Texas sheriff and his deputies set a trap to try and capture Bonnie and Clyde, but the couple escaped the gunfire. Then they held up an attorney on the highway, took his car, which they later abandoned in Miami, Oklahoma. And on the 21st of December, Bonnie and Clyde also held up and robbed a person at a place called Shreveport in Louisiana. So they just kept on going. On the 16th of January in 1934, 5 prisoners, including Raymond Hamilton, who was previously in the gang but left, were broken out of the Eastern State God's sake. Eastern State Prison Farm at Waldo.
Prison farm.
It was a prison farm, Texas, by Bonnie and Clyde. So it was a lot of times, if it was hard labour,
Yes.
put to work.
Oh yeah, of course
Actually
it was.
doing things.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like an outdoor situation. And Clyde had hidden automatic pistols in a ditch for the escapees to use when they got away. And they used them to shoot the guards. And then Clyde covered them with as they ran, he covered them with machine gun fire.
So gnarly.
I know, right? So they had like hidden guns. They'd like planned this escape, and they got away. And then on the 1st of April in 1934, Bonnie and Clyde came across 2 highway patrol officers near Grapevine in Texas. And before the officers could draw their guns, Bonnie and Clyde shot them. Then on the 6th of April, a constable at Miami, Oklahoma, was wounded by Bonnie and Clyde. And they also abducted and wounded a police sheriff.
See, it's just getting real violent now.
Ramping up a bit,
yeah, murder's coming into it.
That's the thing. And it's, the FBI were onto them about auto theft, but then you throw murder into the mix, and that's the thing. And, people are all for it when, possibly they're robbing banks or whatever, but when, they are murdering people.
Like, literally nothing is getting in their way.
No, exactly. Yeah. And, I definitely recommend watching. There's a really good film with Faye Dunaway in it. And then there's a more modern one, which, thinking about it, probably isn't that modern anymore, scarily. But I would definitely recommend watching them, because I think it's the slightly more modern one, which I should have got the date of when it was and who was in it. And they portray this escape from the prison farm quite well. It's it's again, it does romanticise it, but then, oh God, and I should have watched. There's on Netflix, I believe, there is is it a film or a series? From the police who end up capturing them, from their point of view.
Oh, interesting.
Which is actually a really good way of looking at it as well.
Yeah.
So then you do get kind of both sides, and that
thing you can kind of bias, can't you? Well, it's going to be biased from whichever, but then
but
I know what I mean.
It's so there we go, Bonnie and Clyde from 2009. The Highwaymen, 2019.
Oh, so not that long ago.
No, not that long ago. And really good people in it. So, can't remember. Woody Harrelson is in it.
I love Woody Harrelson.
I do.
Also, Mallory and Mickey Knox.
Woody Harrelson and Kevin Costner. Oh. Really, really. So definitely, I think Goobs would like that.
Yeah.
That's a really, really good one. But yeah, so, looking at the whole pop culture of it all, obviously you had Mickey and Mallory Knox.
And I wonder if that was loosely, they took inspiration from Bonnie and Clyde for that, because that's very much romanticised.
And it was a very Bonnie and Clyde situation. That was a great film.
Very good film. Very good film.
So as I mentioned, the FBI were involved because of the charge of transporting a stolen automobile, but they really went for Bonnie and Clyde with all their efforts. They posted wanted notices with fingerprints and photographs, descriptions of the two, as well as criminal records to all the officers. And they followed any clues. And they kind of, used all the tools at their disposal at the time to really try and find. It was a manhunt to try and get Bonnie and Clyde.
It makes you wonder why they were so focused. I mean, obviously, I understand why they're so focused and stuff, but like perhaps, serial killers didn't get as much. Attention.
The way
I don't know.
Think of it is, at the time, they probably wanted to dissuade other people from deciding to go off and rob banks because everyone was so poor and was
Do
struggling.
you know what? That's a very good point. Yeah, it's like a deterrent.
Yeah, they probably did want to
Yeah.
make an example of them.
Yeah.
And
Fair enough. Yeah,
the
that
fact
makes sense.
also, they had been blown up in the press and, you know, so they were getting all this coverage, so they probably wanted to just nip that in the bud.
Do you know what? That makes total sense. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Well, no, I mean, that's fair enough. You wouldn't necessarily, but...
Yeah.
What's the other really good true romance? I know that's not a Bonnie and Clyde thing,
Yeah.
but it's got, you know, obviously the couple. I loved it. That's one of my favourite films. Richard actually bought me that it was a birthday or Christmas present.
Aww.
Yeah, bless him. So agents followed the trail of clues and evidence through different states, and they also sort of followed known haunts of the gang because they did tend to go back to the same places, particularly in Louisiana.
That doesn't seem smart.
It doesn't really, but, you know, I guess they've got away with it thus far, so they're probably thinking, you know...
Yeah, quite confident.
Quite confident, and they hadn't been caught so far, and they managed to literally get out of quite a few situations, including prison, both of them. So the agents found an association with a man named Henry Methvin and his family, and they also found that Bonnie and Clyde had been driving a stolen car in New Orleans. And on the 13th of April, an FBI agent obtained information that placed Bonnie and Clyde in a remote area southwest of that community near the Methvin family home. So they were honing in on where they were. And apparently Bonnie and Clyde had been travelling from Texas to Louisiana, sometimes with Henry Methvin, and they'd all had a party at a place called Black Lake in Louisiana on the 21st of May, and they were expected to return to that area 2 days later.
Right.
So not only are they going back to places, they're having a bit of a rave up as well, which must have really pissed
Oh my God, it would just be like
authorities off.
the fucking audacity.
Yeah. But I just kind of love the fact they were just like, fuck you, we're going to do this, I'm going to have a party. I'm not condoning it.
And you can't stop us.
Exactly. I do find it really interesting. So with this information, a plan was put in place to capture the infamous Bonnie and Clyde. And before dawn on the 23rd of May in 1934, armed police officers from Louisiana and Texas hid in bushes along the highway near Sales, Louisiana. When Bonnie and Clyde drove down Highway 154, they headed straight into an ambush.
Is it 154 or is it I-54?
154.
Oh.
Headed straight into an ambush, and officers opened fire, and the pair were killed instantly. Yeah. Bonnie was only 23 when she died.
Gosh, yeah, really young.
Really, really young. And Bonnie and Clyde have, like we've said, have always been sort of heavily romanticised in the media during their crime spree and after their deaths. And the sensational story completely captured the public's attention at the time. And the country, like I said, was in the midst of a depression. So this was just something to occupy.
Took them
the
out of their
headlines.
own reality.
Exactly. And just took them out of that literal depression. And they were actually sort of seen in the same sort of light as Robin Hood.
But were they given...
Well, no, they were taking and giving to themselves, but but they weren't looked upon as like the evil criminals.
Yeah.
It was more of a Robin Hood type situation. And there's, as we were saying, there's a number of movies about them, and they've inspired lots of movies too, which are not necessarily absolutely about their story, but have
taken elements of it
Yeah.
and injected it. Yeah,
exactly.
they've inspired.
Exactly. There's even been a musical.
Has there?
Apparently, which I probably would go and see. I'm not a massive fan of musicals.
Mark Larson musical.
But I love Cats.
Do you?
Yeah. And
So that's not one that's really ever kind of...
oh, I loved Cats. I
haven't seen it.
Absolutely loved it. And I must say, when I go to musicals, I actually really enjoy them. I just don't like watching them on telly. But I love them in theatre.
Because you're more immersed in it, I suppose.
Yeah, and obviously Rocky Horror Show.
Oh.
That is my
Why
favourite
haven't we
musical.
seen that together?
I don't know. We'll have to find it when it's touring because it's really good.
Yeah.
You have to dress up.
Oh, duh.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's not a musical, but I really want to take you to see The Woman in Black because it's my favourite play.
I would love to go and see that. Is it scary?
The first time I saw it, I fucking nearly shit my pants.
Okay, well, if you thought it was scary, I would.
It is my favourite ghost story.
Yeah.
Favourite.
Is it still on in the theatres?
Yeah, gosh. As far as I'm aware, it is, yeah.
Oh, we should try and do
I've
that
seen it in Cambridge, I've seen it in London. Have I taken you to see it? Right, well then, there we go. That's a trip for the Triangle of Madness then.
Amazing.
I didn't know you then. Clearly. That's Mark's tagline. Wasn't invited.
I think I have a t-shirt with that just written on it.
Wasn't invited.
Wasn't invited.
But yeah, it's not a musical at all. It's got 2 actors.
Oh, fab. Okay.
So it's very, very cleverly done.
I would like to go and see more theatre because I do really, really enjoy it.
I do.
Okay, well, we'll do that. I'm with you.
We speaking of the theatre, our friend Daryl, he's very gullible. And obviously, you know, actresses known as thespians. Mm-hmm. So we convinced him one day that a thespian was a male lesbian.
Oh, Daryl.
Daryl's not very... I love him to pieces. He's fucking brilliant. He makes me laugh. But Jesus Christ, dude, just think about that for a second. So now if you ever talk about thespians around him, he thinks you're talking about male lesbians.
I love that. That's brilliant. Right.
Who act? Was it Who Act? No, it was just male lesbians, wasn't it? Not, yeah.
I mean, you could throw that in there and just see if he takes that edition.
He would.
Yeah, probably would. So, you might want to know what sort of happened to their ill-fated bullet-ridden Ford V8, which was central to their 1930s crime spree. Obviously, they had various different ones, but the one that they were shot and killed in is on display in a casino called Whiskey Pete's in Prim in Nevada.
Oh, wait.
Hang on a minute. It's only 44 minutes from where we're staying, so we could go and see it. And I really would like to. And actually, there's a lot of spooky happenings in and around this car.
Yes, I've heard.
Yeah.
That is just such an iconic image.
And also, oh my God, my stomach. Did you hear that?
That was fucking paranormal.
Really, that was a paranormal stomach. Sorry about that. I was it was very excited about the car. But Whiskey Pete's is quite sort of an iconic casino. So I think we should go anyway as for an afternoon.
Can I play poker?
You can. I don't bloody know how to. I'll be the one drinking at the bar trying to find a rock star husband.
Yeah, and I'll woo every now and then. You'll be like, yeah.
Okay. I'll watch from far. But yeah, so I thought we should, if you want to, that would be, if we're there, we should really go and see Bonnie and Clyde's car.
Well, yes, and don't forget it's so near my birthday, so it's like, yay, birthday trip.
Okay.
I'm sorry, just
that
knocked the mic, I'm so excited. Trip.
And then we can have dinner at Whiskey Pete's. Because we'll get an Uber so I can drink.
Mark, you are invited.
So that's the sort of summarised story of Bonnie and Clyde. And in a moment, when we've talked about it, I'm going to read you one of her poems.
Awesome. Oh, I got really excited.
I know. I didn't go and see it last time. First of all, because I was on my own and there were other things I was trying to cram in.
Yeah.
But
we're going to have to do like a proper itinerary.
Oh, yeah, I know. And we've I've already started thinking about what we're going to wear. Stuff like this. We were already planning nails the other day.
We were.
We need to get a mini nail lamp. But I just think that would be... I'll find out how much an Uber would be. I don't think... It won't be extortionate, but I think it would be worth it if we're there.
Yeah.
To go to Whiskey Pete's, because it is iconic.
Be handy if they've got, I don't know, monorail. I don't know.
They don't have monorail. They have in Vegas, but it doesn't go 45 minutes out of Vegas. Because we're literally staying in the centre.
Oh.
We're, on the strip.
Well, we have to somehow get there.
Whiskey
we'll
Pete's
walk.
Out.
I will walk. I'll get my steps in.
Yeah, so, we would probably get shot. But,
yeah, that's an issue.
But no, I think it'd be quite cool to, and also I wonder if anyone's there who's hanging around, because maybe one of my friends will drive us and we can,
yeah,
have a bit of a drive into the desert, which will be cool. I've gone on I've been in a truck. Oh, and a car. Oh yeah, no, I did a series episode out there, didn't I? So we drove that god awful Volkswagen bus on Route 66, and then I've been on the back of Ant's bike a few times going there.
I bet that was cool.
It was very cool, but I find it hard. I know it sounds weird. I find it really hard work on the back of a bike. It's quite uncomfortable.
I mean, I'd be petrified the entire time that I was going to fly off it. So.
I was fine, and it was one of those baggers, so it's like sitting in literally a sofa.
Oh, nice. Okay,
and it's got like speakers and it's really cool.
Awesome.
But there's a long way between gas stations.
Yeah.
So
you have to take like extra.
Yeah, it's like
just in case.
Long. It feels long on a bike.
Yeah.
It's more fun in a car, I think. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the story of Bonnie and Clyde. It was very summarised, and maybe in the future I'll revisit it and go into it a bit more.
Yeah.
But I just wanted, because it was quite timely, and it was the anniversary of their death 90 years ago this month, and we are going to Vegas, and we will.
How we're going to Whiskey Pete's?
We're going to Whiskey Pete's.
Oh my god!
So yeah,
all of the things.
I know.
All
so
of the things.
So would you like me to read you her poem?
Yes, please.
So this is.
I'm going to get me
get your literature vibes going.
Critically analyze. No, I'm not going to do that. She'll haunt me.
I also, the other reason I wanted to talk about Bonnie and Clyde is because we've been, not the last two big cases we've done have been female killers.
Yeah.
And there's just something else about Bonnie Parker. Yes, okay.
She has a little je ne sais quoi.
She really does. She really does. She's so stylish, and I can't wait to share photos. And I also found the wanted pictures on the FBI's website, so I'll share them on our Instagram as well. So this is The Trail's End by Bonnie Parker. You've read the story of Jesse James, of how he lived and died. If you're not still in need of something to read, here's a story of Bonnie and Clyde. Now, Bonnie and Clyde are the Barrow Gang. I'm sure you all have read. How they rob and steal, and those who squeal are usually found dying or dead. There's lots of untruths to these write-ups. They're not as ruthless as that. Their nature is raw. They hate all the law, the stool pigeons, spotters and rats. They call them cold-blooded killers. They say they're heartless and mean. But I say this with pride, that I once knew Clyde when he was honest and upright and clean. But the law fooled around, kept taking him down and locking him up in a cell, till he said to me, I'll never be free, so I'll meet a few of them in hell. The road was so dimly lit, there were no highway signs to guide, but they made up their minds, if all roads were blind, they would give up till they died. The road gets dimmer and dimmer, sometimes you can hardly see, but it's fight man to man and do all you can, for they know they can never be free. From heartbreak, some people have suffered, from weariness, some people have died, but take it all in all, our troubles are small, till we get like Bonnie and Clyde. If a policeman is killed in Dallas and they have no clue or guide, if they find a fiend, they just swipe their slate clean and hang it on Bonnie and Clyde. There's 2 crimes committed in America, not accredited to the Barrow mob. They had no hand in the kidnap demand, nor the Kansas City depot job. The newsboy once said to his buddy, I wish old Clyde would get jumped. In these awful hard times, we'd make a few dimes if 5 or 6 cops would get bumped. The police haven't got the report yet, but Clyde called me up today. He said, don't start any fights. We aren't working nights. We're joining the NRA. From Irving to West Dallas Viaduct is known as the Great Divide, where the women are kin and the men are men, and they won't stall on Bonnie and Clyde. If they try to act like citizens and rent them a nice flat, about the 3rd night they're invited to fight by sub-guns rat-tat-tat. They don't think they're too smart or desperate. They know that the law always wins. They've been shot at before, but they do not ignore the death is the wages of sin. Someday they'll go down together. They'll burn them side by side. They'll bury them side by side. To few it'll be grief, to the law a relief, but it's death for Bonnie and Clyde. That's it. It's really good, isn't it? Night Doll.
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
I didn't read it very well because I can't read, apparently. But I'll send you it because it's I quite like it. It's interesting.
I mean, obviously, this is not for me to pull apart and stuff. It's very difficult with rhyming poetry. Like, traditionally, poems rhyme and stuff, but sometimes it can feel a little bit sort of immature and, like, you repeat things and stuff, like I noticed with her. But there's also, like, such a rawness to it. And there's, like, hidden depths of it just being, like, you know, oh, I knew when Clyde was clean and stuff. This is something that has, you know, gone at... Oh, hidden depth. Fuck off. This is the thing. I'm not...
Did you know she's doing a degree? You know? Well done, Paul.
Maybe I will... I'll hold back. Don't get me wrong. I think that's the kind of thing I would own. If I was to own any kind of murderabilia, it would be things like writings.
Yeah.
Just because obviously that's something that really does interest me. No, rhyming isn't immature. It has to... You can obviously still rhyme with poetry, but it's done now in a way that's like it's not simple. And obviously old language, like thinking about Shakespeare with his rhyming couplets and everything like that, it's just how they used to speak. But now it's not that way. Exactly. Things have evolved. So back then it would have been good, but with my sort of modern mind.
Well, and also everything is subjective.
Yeah.
And
don't get me wrong, there are bits in that I was like, oh, that just giving me shivers and stuff. So
I really like the fact that she kind of is admitting to the fact, yes, we're criminals.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things we didn't do that are being pinned on us.
Absolutely. So, like, hands up, this is the shit we did, but we didn't do that. And it's like, you know, we're not better than the law. We know we're probably going to die and stuff. So you can read all of that in what she's saying, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I like sort of the rawness to it.
I really like it. And I would quite like to read, see if we can find her diary entries, because that seems really interesting.
I'd like to read more. I also kind of really want to do like a Bonnie and Clyde poem.
Oh, okay. Well, that could be possibly
like
something.
A retort or something.
Yeah. That'd be cool. Well, hopefully that's giving you an idea.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Maybe. I'm a retort. Thank you.
So, but also going back to that as well, and it is reflective of our times now. It's you know, she's sort of saying, don't believe everything you hear.
Yeah.
Because obviously everything gets changed in sort of whispers and different tales, and social media now.
Yes.
And the news isn't always the news.
Well,
so
fake news.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just basically the same things like we were saying were happening back then.
Yeah.
It was just in a slightly different format.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh no, I really like that. Yeah.
Cool. I'll send it to you. I apologise for reading it so badly. Well, what I might do actually is pop it on our Instagram.
Yes, do.
I can put it on there so people can read it themselves, because it might be a bit better if they read it themselves. I do apologise. I am me, so.
And that is that.
Do we have a random fact? I am going to say, can I go first with mine?
Yes, of course.
Because it's completely relevant to this story.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I had to write it down. So when I was a visual merchandiser, I worked for Puma for a couple of years, and they brought out some special edition trainers called the Bonnie and Clyde.
Fuck off.
But they were quickly banned. Apparently the depiction of guns on the trainers in connection with the infamous couple was was inappropriate and was seen as allegedly promoting gun crime. I obviously worked with... That's not what they were doing at all, you know. But I really wish I'd bought a pair before they banned them.
Yeah, that would.
So that's not them. They do trainers called the Clydes, but there were some Bonnie and Clydes, and they may have pretty much got rid of... They were like in a special bag. There we go. They were in like a swag bag, and they had a gun on them instead of the Puma. And I really wish I'd bought some, because they banned them so quickly that I don't think many would have got out there.
No.
But yeah, that's...
I mean, I understand, but it's like you could say that about music. Stop singing about guns or violence in music
say
and
that
stuff.
about anything at all.
But what...
It's still our history, and it's just, you know, basically the designers have taken a piece of pop culture history and applied it to fashion, that happens all the time.
That's how people learn about things.
Exactly.
As well.
You can't just erase history. And
No, you can't. You just learn from it, like you say.
exactly. And it doesn't mean that just because they're going to wear a pair of Bonnie and Clydes,
They're going to go out and rob and shoot and...
I mean, maybe some people will, but,
But they're already that way inclined.
Exactly.
A pair of shoes isn't going to change that.
No, exactly. So, but yeah, I thought that was quite a good random fact.
Yeah,
Because it's really relevant. Have you got any random facts today?
Yeah. I have one that's related to my anxiety.
Oh, go on.
Actually. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but I have a bit of a ritual. I get a lot of intrusive thoughts. Like all of a sudden, like a bad thought will go into my head and then it will just escalate into something, another bad thought and stuff. You know the old, like, touch wood thing? So if there's no wood around, you touch your head and you go touch wood. As soon as a thought comes into my head, you may notice sometimes I do this. And I'm stood there for a little while and it's me touching wood, but I have to do it, like, if I can, I'll say it. So it'd be, and I have to do it 3 times.
Oh,
So
I didn't know that and I've never
wood,
noticed that.
Touch wood, touch wood.
Okay.
And then the more thoughts I have to do it for each thought.
So it's the same sort of thing as counting. So so it's just trying to get your mind away from that particular thought. And
yeah, I've told Mark's sister about it. It can be quite debilitating because I can be in a social situation or something like that, and then I'm trying not to.
Well, I've never ever noticed it, so you're doing well to hide it.
Well, I
also,
try.
You don't feel like you have to hide it.
But it's also, every time, like, say if I've had, quite often at night, I'll think of, I have to message Mum goodnight. I have to give Eddie so many kisses and stuff because he's been so poorly, and I'm petrified that one day it's, I'm going to wake up. So I'll think, right, so I'll give him all of his kisses goodnight, and then I'll get into bed and it'll be like, the thought will come into my head that he might not be there in the morning, and then I'm like, touch wood, touch wood, touch wood. If I can't say it, I'll say it in my head, but I've got to really sort of enunciate in my head, like, it's so weird to explain. It's so weird to explain, but it's an anxiety thing. I get a lot when I'm driving, not about driving, but just intrusive thoughts. Yeah. Like if I'm driving or something and I think that Mark might have an accident.
Reg has come in. Reg the healer has come in to make me feel better about life.
But it's fine. I've had it for years.
Yeah, that's what I've never ever noticed.
Yeah,
never noticed.
It's if you see me with my hand on my head for a prolonged amount of time.
Well, you do very well to disguise it, but like you said,
it's weird.
You shouldn't have to disguise it. No,
I want people to know. Well, I've told everyone now.
But so. when I get intrusive thoughts, I shake my head. Yeah. I have to shake them out of my head.
Yeah, I've done that before, but this just seems to be the staple that I do.
Yeah,
and it's just comfort. Because it's a superstitious thing, I think, which again comes from anxieties.
Yeah,
just mine's quite bad.
That's fine. I developed a twitch, so it's all good. Goobs, do you have a random fact today?
Yeah,
do you want to read
this? We have resident squirrels at our home, and do you know what this is actually kind of freaky. So we've got resident squirrels at our home. There's Sebastian, who we see a lot, and we first met Sebi during lockdown, but the family seems to have grown, and there's now like an adolescent squirrel who we've named Senna after the F1 driver. And then I was at work the other day and a squirrel ran past me and I was like, oh, it's Sylvester, Sebi's cousin. No, Salvador, not Sylvester, Salvador. But it's so funny because Mark's address is the same street name that I used to live on, where we had a tree out the front with 2 squirrels that we used to hand feed.
Yeah, and I remember that house is where we made the coffee grass mud concoction.
And why you went off coffee for years and now all of a sudden you love it again.
Oh, no, we also put Smarties in it.
Yes, we did. I'm too young to remember, but, you've told me the story so much. But yeah, so Mark lives on a address I used to live on, but in a completely different area.
That's quite weird, actually.
Resident squirrels.
Yeah, that's quite weird. I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, I mean, I think that's kind of brought us to the end of this episode. Thank you for those who listened. And last time I actually forgot to mention at Cars and Macabre on Instagram.
No, you didn't. It was all kind of rolled into.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh,
you said you can catch us on all platforms at Cars and Macabre.
Okay.
It was
do that.
General.
obviously we've got the used tubes now.
The used tube.
And if you do have any spooky stories that are sort of connected with cars, even if it's a very
loose
connection, it doesn't matter. We will make it work.
Yeah.
And because we would like to eventually be able to do some listener tales,
Yeah.
but we need enough to do sort of a couple of episodes rather than just one.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So that's carsandthecarb@gmail.com.
Yeah, I said that and then forgot to say where to send
email
it.
address. Yeah, that's all right. Thank you to Goober again for all the sound. At least the sound is professional, even when the content isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Little Reginald, my man.
Brilliant. Okay, so make sure you download, subscribe, like, share, all the things. And until next time, stay spooky bitches.